excited to be starting this podcast tonight, and I have an amazing, amazing guest tonight. So, because I get the benefit of doing this live and then cutting out all the extra stuff, be sure to share this with somebody who needs to be in the room, who needs to be in on this conversation, and say hi. Let me know you're here. And yeah, so as I said, I am Latera Wise. I am the Heartwork Strategist. It is my purpose and my pleasure to help women walk that journey of healing through their trauma. And my guest tonight, I call her my purpose twin because we speak the same language and we share a common goal and common mission of walking people through their healing process. So I'm so excited about bringing her on tonight. Um, so I, hey Tara, hey Jan. So I'm going to tell you all a little bit about the podcast, what you can expect, because again, this is the first episode. So the Hey There Overcomer podcast is actually a rebrand and revamp of a podcast that I started back in 2018, 2019 called um, the Woman Unmasked podcast. Life hit me hard. I was stuck in a grief bubble for a while, and sometimes you just have to shut everything down. And so that's what I did. And as I am getting back in the flow of things, God has allowed me to bring back those things that brought me joy. And this podcast is one of those things. But one of the things that He also showed me is that unmasking is a moment, but overcoming is a lifestyle. So the Hey There Overcomer podcast is celebrating that lifestyle of healing. So I'm so excited to bring it back. I have some amazing guests lined up for the podcast, and we just gonna have a good time. A good time, a healing time, might be some tears, but you are gonna leave feeling great. You're gonna leave inspired to go out and live the overcomer's lifestyle. So I'm gonna say hi to everybody in the chat, and then I'm gonna bring in my guest, and we're just gonna have a good time. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and we'll come back to them before we close out the episode. So hey TJ, hey Miss Shernette, hey Jan, hey Tara, and Andrea. Hello everybody. I am so glad that you all are here, and hopefully y'all will be blessed by this podcast today. So Jan has her tissues on deck. Yeah, everybody get your tissues on deck. It's going to be a good time. So, I am going to bring in my guest. And, everybody has those professional bios and all of that. But I want you to hear from her mouth her story because it is an amazing story. And I'm so glad that she is here to share with me. I'm so glad that she agreed to be my first guest. So I am going to bring her on right now. This is my girl, my purpose twin, Martha Glory Kartawi. Y'all give her a nice warm welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm honored that I'm your first guest. What? Purpose
Yes.
Twins indeed.
Yes. So I am thrilled that you were here. Like when I knew that I was going to restart the podcast, it was no question that you were absolutely going to be a guest. Especially from our special that we did. I'm like that time flew by. So I
It
need
did.
to bring her back so we can have a nice good old conversation and bring the people in on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I am going to spotlight you and I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the people and then we're just going to jump right in.
All right, I'm ready. So, hi, I'm Martha Glory Kartawi. And so there's a lot of layers to my story, but I first want to say that I am a child of the one true King, and that's how I live my life. I am perfectly and wonderfully made in his image, And it took me a really, really long time to understand that precious gift and to understand who I was. I really did not find my identity in God until my 40s. And yes, I'm 46. So it's only been the last few years where I really stepped in and said, who does God say I am? And how am I operating my life? The reason for that is because I was born and raised in a dangerous religious cult. And within the religious cult, we were told what to think. We were controlled. We were isolated. We were brainwashed. I was physically tortured. I was sexually abused, verbally abused, physically abused, mentally, emotionally, everything you can name, I experienced it the first 26 years of my life. So when I say that I had no identity really until my 40s, it's really because I did not know who I was. And I had accepted all of these identities that were never mine to begin with. They were put on me from the cult. They were put on me from my parents. They were put on me after I got out of the cult because I accepted what everybody told me I was. I never sat down and said, well, what does Martha think about herself? And then when I finally realized, who does God say I am? A whole new world opened up. So that's just a little snippet about me. I know we're going to get into a lot more, but that's a little bit of my story.
Yes. And so, I know I didn't grow up in a cult. I know there are a lot of people who did not grow up in a cult, but I know that there are people who can absolutely identify with not knowing who they are, not understanding their identity, and even dealing with some of the abuse that you experienced at the hands of people in the church. So, we're gonna get get right into it. I want to know the thing that since I saw you speak that always caught me is the joy that you have. And so where did you find that joy? How did you get to that joy after all that you survived? How did you get to that joy?
So it's very simply put, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And for a very long time, um, when you wander, but you're not lost,
Hmm.
right? God keeps like planting little things. And I think as a very small child, when I asked my parents, like, what was I like as a kid? Because I have very few memories of childhood.
Mm.
The ones that I do have that aren't blocked out or aren't damaged are trauma memories. I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood. And so when I've asked my parents, like, what was I like as a child, and they always say that I was this bubbly, creative, imaginative, little, just
Mm.
rambunctious little kid. And so I think that I've returned to whence I came before I started having all this trauma at age about 7. So I think I just returned to the person that God created me to be, and now I can be authentically her because I'm
Hmm.
not hiding behind all of the layers of everything else that wasn't me, right? And when I mean I'm not hiding, I hid behind being very overweight for many, 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 many years because that was a protection for me.
Hmm.
That was a protection mechanism. And people don't understand that sometimes we stay fat
Yes.
because it's a protection. And I did that for many years. And so when I started peeling the layers away and I started on this healing journey that I've now been on for 14 years, I let a lot of things go and I released them. I don't say I lost weight, I released that because
Mm.
if you lost it, that means I need to go find it. Like you lose your keys, you lose yourself.
Yes.
No, I don't ever want to find it again because I don't want to find who that was. That wasn't me. I don't need that security anymore. I don't need that protection anymore. I get to just be me. And so when you get to be you, it's so freeing because I was like caught in this bubble of not me for
Yes.
almost 40 years. And so stepping into me and getting to be authentically just me,
Hmm.
it's so freeing. So that's what I think you're seeing.
Yes, I love that. And one of the things I told you, we are purpose twins because one of the things um that God kind of spoke to me was, who were you before you met trauma? And so our identity is that person that was there before the trauma, the free person who didn't care about what people thought, who didn't care about um, being perfect, who just existed in that joy. So, how did you reconcile your relationship with God? Because I know that there are some people, listen, if somebody looks at them the wrong way, they have left the church, they have turned their back on God. How did you reconcile your relationship with God and separate it from the things that you experienced?
So I'm going to be perfectly honest, and I think you and I have discussed this a little bit on another show, but I've never gotten this like really nitty gritty. So me and God, I was mad at God. I was very, very, very mad at God. I was angry. I was hurt. I was disappointed. I was lost because how could, if there was a God, how could the things that happened to me, how could I be starved for 5 months? How could I be beaten within inches of my life and broken bones and never get medical attention? How could I, like all the things that happened to me within those years, how could there be a God if these things happened to me in God's name, in
Mm,
God's house, right? So when I escaped the compound at 26 years old, after all of this trauma, right? I ran
mhm,
as far as I could from God because I was like, there can't be a God. How, right? But
mhm,
what happened is I met just as much disappointment on the outside. I
mm,
met trauma in a new way on the outside. So no, now it wasn't happening at the hands of Cult Man, but now there was new trauma on the outside, right? And so and it wasn't as bad, but it was still hurtful, right? Like I still went through life be lifing. And
yes.
so I it's like I couldn't catch a break, right?
Mm,
And I'm struggling with my trauma like seeping up through my pores and my physical body breaking down, and I don't know what's happening to me because I don't understand that trauma is stored on a cellular level in my body. Like I don't have any of this knowledge, and I'm also hiding from myself because I don't know who I am. I'm lost. I'm trying to keep everybody far enough away so that they can't touch my pain, they can't touch my trauma. So I have all these walls built up, and you look at me sideways, and I'm going to either run or punch you because those are the only two options, right? So that's a very exhausting life. It's a
mhm,
very exhausting life. So one day I literally woke up and I was like, there's got to be more. Like, how is this all there is to life? Like, how, right? I'm married, I'm raising kids, I'm in a corporate job, I get paid tons of money, but I'm empty. I'm
mm,
lost. I'm alone. My physical body is breaking down literally from the inside out. I have a sheet full of diagnosis of headaches, migraines, back pain, gastrointestinal issues, fibromyalgia, you name it. I complex PTSD, like literally the list of diagnoses. And nobody can help this. Nobody can help this brokenness, right?
mm,
There's no pill to fix this kind of trauma. There's no pill to fix trauma. You have to go inward and then
yes.
you have to go upward.
Mhm,
That's the only way to fix and heal from trauma, period. Everything else is a mask, everything else is a numbing mechanism. And I knew for some reason I didn't want to numb, but I didn't
mhm,
understand how much I would have to feel in order to heal.
yes.
And that's where I found God, is when
Mm,
I started going inward and I started realizing how much I had to feel in order to heal it. I couldn't heal it alone. And
mm,
that's when I reconnected with God. And I was like, if I'm going to get through this, then you got to show me how, because I don't have the strength. I don't have the courage. This sucks. Like, I knew what I went through was hard, but I didn't know it was that hard. Right. And
mhm,
that's when God, like, said, I've been here the whole time. I've just been waiting for you to say you were ready for me to hold you. But I've been here the whole time. Right. And that's when I really started my journey of personally connecting with my creator and understanding what that meant for me outside of religion, outside
mhm,
of what somebody had told me, or the Bible. Like, I had to find it for myself, and then everything else that I chose to believe would support it, but I need to personally understand who God was for me. And then I could understand everything else and how it all fits together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a tough journey. And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we've been at that place at some point in life. If we've dealt with trauma, if we've dealt with loss, that we've been in that place where we don't want to talk to God. It's like, really, really, this is what you created me for. And so that broken place that you were in, and when you allow God to come in, and you actually had to deal with the feelings, what was the process of starting to feel and actually process what you had been through?
Painful. I am not going to try to sugarcoat it. It's painful. But when I started dealing with it, I immediately started feeling better in my physical body, because everything's connected. You can't
Mhm.
separate your spiritual from your physical, from your mental, from your emotional, from your nervous system. You can't separate any of it. It's
Yes.
all perfectly and wonderfully made. And so it was all so fibrously intertwined that when I started my walk with the Lord and figuring out what that meant, and then when I started going inward and healing the little girl that had started trauma at age 7, right?
Mhm.
When I started taking those steps, my physical body is what I first saw the transformation in. Less migraines, less gastrointestinal issues, the fibromyalgia went away completely,
Wow.
less hair loss, like all of the things that was on a physical level was breaking down were getting increasingly better after each year of continuing to do this work, right?
Mm.
Until one day you wake up and you're like, I haven't had a headache in a week. What? I had a headache every day of my life for over 20 years.
Mm.
And I had a migraine probably 3 of those 7 days of every single week for 20 years. So not having that, right? Like you take it for granted. You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a headache for a week. So it grew gradually, but it's a painful process that you have to commit to. But I knew that I was worthy of that commitment because I could see how it was all intertwined, and I could
Mhm.
see how my relationship with my husband was improving. I could see how I saw people differently. Like I didn't see the world out to get me any longer. For a
Mhm.
long time I felt like everybody was a monster. Everybody was going to be out to get me. Everybody was going to hurt me. I was convinced my husband was going to divorce me anyway, like, so
Mm.
just go ahead and let me break your heart. And
Yes.
like, and just because I know you're going to hurt me, I know the other shoe's going to drop, you're going to leave me, you're going to abandon me, because that's what men do. Bye. Right? Like, and I was
Mhm.
always just waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's no way to live, y'all. That is no way to live. So when I started doing this work, and I was like, my husband and my relationship started improving, and I was like, oh, this is all connected. Okay, then, right? And so, yes, it's painful. But then I started seeing me, I started discovering this. And I was like, she's pretty cool. I want to get to know more about her.
Yes, she is pretty cool. And I'm so glad that you got to that place that you found yourself and reconnected with yourself. So, I want to talk about, because you mentioned the weight being your protection. And I know that for a lot of us, I had that same story of not wanting to release weight because I didn't want to be seen as a sexual object. I didn't want to be seen. Um, I just didn't want to be seen. So the weight was my insulation, was my barrier. So how did you get to the place where you started to release the weight and be okay with being seen in a smaller body?
So there's a specific moment that I remember that I was like, I'm taking my life back. And that was the moment that I stepped on the scale and it said 274 pounds. And I was like, who is this? Who is this woman that weighs 274 pounds? And like, I didn't recognize her. Not that I had ever recognized me, because
Mhm.
I really didn't have any identities at this point. But now I'd been out of the cult about probably 8 years ish.
Mhm.
And I had just ballooned. And so I remember seeing that number and I was like, never again. I have got to figure out how to heal this, right? And I was doing naturopathic modalities to heal the inside, right?
Mhm.
To deal with my inner child and to deal with the trauma. And,
Mhm.
I did a lot of all that internal work, but then I started realizing, and, the, the pain stuff was getting under control. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a connection with this weight thing too. If it's connecting, right? Like it's all
Mhm.
connected. And so I saw that number and I was like, something's got to give. I don't want to ever see that number again. And I sat down with my the therapist that I was seeing at that time, and it was cognitive therapy. And I was like, there's all this connection, right? Stored on a cellular level, trauma. Like, why am I fat? And she looked at me and she was like, because you want it for protection. You've
Mhm.
never been safe in your entire life.
Mhm.
Have you ever felt safe? And I just remember like crumbling on the floor. And she was like, it's okay to say I've never been safe. And I'm fat because I've never been safe. And something happened. I sobbed and I said that. And then I said, but I am safe.
Mhm.
I am safe. I'm in a safe relationship. But most importantly, I'm safe with me. I'm safe with God.
Yeah.
God's got this now. I've got this now. My husband's safe, right? Like I had to tell me I'm safe. And as soon as I made that choice, because it is a
Mhm.
choice,
Yes.
you automatically start making healthier choices of what's going in your mouth. And I set goals for myself. And what I mean I set goals is like I challenge myself, because I'll meet every challenge head on, because I'll
Mhm.
do it, right? So the first thing I did when I'm 274 pounds is I signed up for a triathlon.
Ah,
Yeah, triathlon.
that's
And
serious, Martha.
yes, so I trained for 9 months starting then. I trained for 9 months. Within that 9 months, I released about, I would say, close to 30 pounds. And
Mhm.
so in that first 9 months, when I was like really diligently training, I
Mhm.
completed the triathlon. I was one of the last ones, but guess what? I still
But you
completed
did
it
it.
and I did
Mhm.
it. But after that, it had become a lifestyle. The way that I ate had become a lifestyle. Moving my body had become a lifestyle. And I started to like it because I've never been a sedentary person. I'd become a sedentary person because I was depressed, because I was anxious, because I didn't want to leave the bubble of my house, because I didn't trust anybody, right? All
Mhm.
the excuses. And now I didn't want those excuses anymore. I wanted to reclaim me. And so it was a process, and it took probably close to 4 years to get off 100 pounds, but I've
Wow.
kept it off now for 12 years.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
I am not there yet with the healthy food choices. I'm working my way there, but food is
One
so
step at
good.
a
It's
time.
so
Don't
good.
beat yourself up.
Carbs are amazing, and
They
cheese
are.
is amazing.
You can do it in moderation.
Okay, you'll have to give us some tips.
So I believe in moderation. And I believe that if I am going, see, I don't eat like pizza. Those aren't like my things. I love bread. I
Yeah.
just want to eat bread. If I could eat bread every single day, I could live on bread and cheese because, well, I was in a cult and that's yeah.
Mm.
Um, so I could eat carbs all day. So if I carb out one night, I know that I better get up and I better go for a run, walk. I better move my body. I better do yoga. Like, everything's in moderation and nothing's perfect, but I want to feel good. I do it for me. I don't do it for the scale. I don't do it for the number. I do it for me because I feel yuck when I don't move my body. And,
Mm.
I fluctuate 5-10 pounds and I don't worry about it anymore because I know how I feel. If I start
Mhm.
feeling sluggish and ick, like when I was on the road a lot last year, Like it's harder to make the types of decisions food wise when you're traveling.
Yeah.
And I started feeling like, like I don't like how I'm feeling. Got to get back to what serves me. And I've learned what that means for me. What I do may not work for you, but it's all about finding what works for your body and for you to feel good. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about pant sizes. I want to feel good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to see what some of these comments over here are saying. Of course, everybody says hey. Tara says she's trying to keep her lashes on. Oh. Oh wait, can I add comments to the screen, y'all? This is a new platform that I'm using, so um yeah, we're gonna see. I can show them on here. Hey, there we go. So Jamel said, absolutely, it took me seems like forever to find who I am, and that's a journey. It's difficult finding who you are, um,
And
and it's
it's
not just
layered.
something that's tied to trauma. It's a journey period for people to find who they are.
Yes.
Uh, Like what was the first step that you took to really embracing your identity? Did you like start um trying different things and seeing what stuck? Like what was the process of you like fully starting to enjoy finding your identity?
So I'm going to tell you a silly story, but it really encapsulates that exact question. So we had a list a mile long of foods we weren't allowed in the cult, like chocolate, pizza, like no pasta. There was a whole list of you can't eat, right?
Mhm.
So when I got out of the cult, like one of the first things I did was like, you know what? I want to try things that I wasn't allowed to have, right? So I tried bacon and I
Oh.
was like, where have you been my whole life, right? And I was like, guess what? I like bacon, right? It was something so small, but
Mhm.
so significant. And when I would like tell people that had been out of the cult but weren't eating the way that, I was like,
Mhm.
have you tried bacon? Like, bacon's amazing, right? But that's how I had to try things for the first time. And then I
Mhm.
had to ask myself, like, as I got deeper into my healing journey, does this resonate with who I am? Do I want to believe this about myself? Do I want to believe that I'm defiled, that I'm ugly, that I'm fat, that I'm unworthy, that nobody's going to love me, that everybody's going to leave me? I had to ask myself those hard questions.
Mm. That's
That's
good.
when you get to the ick. That's when
Mm.
you're like, holy crap, I've been carrying around this nasty disgustingness that was never mine to begin with.
Mm.
The deep stuff, right? And then there's the things like when I started discovering my gifts and talents, right?
Mhm.
And understanding that there's people that go through their entire life
Mm.
without discovering their gifts and talents. All of us are given them by God, but
Yes.
some of us don't do the work to discover them because it is a discovery when we get to understand who we were created to be.
And
We
it's
were
fun.
Yes.
It
We
is
were created on purpose for a purpose.
fun.
And so it is a discovery.
Yeah. And it should be your purpose and operating in your gifts should bring you joy. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be that it's you're not going to have to work
Right.
because there is work involved in everything, but the work is fun. The work should bring you joy. It should make you wake up every morning with a smile on your face. Now, for those who are morning people, it should make you jump out of the bed. For me, who is a night owl, it makes me have to fight myself to go to sleep because I am excited about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about some of the things that you are doing now on this other side.
Yes.
So, I know that you have some, you are tell the people about what you do because there's a lot.
There is a
There's
lot.
a lot.
So I published my first book called Glory Going All In. And it's basically my cult story, my healing journey, and then the principles of my trauma coaching program, all in one book.
Mm.
And that was a labor of catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
It was a labor of love, and it was a labor of really finding, like, legitimately, unapologetically, who I was stepping into as this person on a mission that God's called. And so my mission is that people don't have to go through healing alone. That's why we have
Mm-hmm.
this twin thing going on, this
Yes.
purpose twin thing, is because healing can be very lonely, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and especially trauma healing, because people have stigma around the word trauma.
Yes.
And it's like, no, if your parents divorced when you were a kid and you were hurt by it, you got trauma. If you
Mm-hmm.
got bullied at school, you got trauma. You didn't have to go through what I went through or what you went through to have trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Like, life be lifing, we got trauma, right? But trauma has this, like, weird stigma
Yes.
attached to it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm on this mission. I call survivors of trauma battle angels,
Mm.
because I don't want to just be a survivor. Like,
Right.
I'm a warrior. I'm strong. I'm resilient. I'm a battle angel. Just sounds like badass,
It
like
does. It
right? And so I'm on a mission to walk alongside battle angels and help them take their next step in their healing journey, because we all got to start somewhere, right? There's some people
Yes.
that have done a little bit of work but are scared to push past some barrier or some story that they're telling themselves, or some
Mm-hmm.
narrative or some mindset or some habit, right? And then there's some people that have no idea where to start. And then there's some people that have no idea they have trauma.
Right.
So, but
Right.
their whole world's falling apart, right? And so I'm just on a mission to walk alongside battle angels to take their next step in trauma. And I do that through coaching. I have a trauma coaching program. I do that through building community on my platform, Trauma X. I also do that through speaking. I speak all around on different platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and just spreading the word and understanding that, like, you don't have to do this alone. This can be a very lonely journey, but you don't have to do it alone. I wish that I could have found me
Yeah.
when I was in that place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
because 14 years ago, people weren't talking about trauma like they are now. And we didn't have access to the internet and everything on
Mm-hmm.
it like we do now. We didn't have access to podcasts like this. We didn't have
Right.
access to so many different things. And so I wish that I had the tools back then that I have now, that I share with my clients and with my community.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, you're all right. Yes. So the thing that you mentioned about trauma and the way that people look at trauma that resonates with me is that just because it's not as extreme as growing up in a cult doesn't mean you haven't experienced trauma. And for my daughter, I tell this story all the time, and she's okay with it, with me telling it. But when I was pregnant with her twin brothers, I came home one day, and you don't realize how much space babies take up, two babies take up in your stomach, um, and push everything out of whack. So I had a wonderful soul food lunch. And as soon as I hit the door at home, that whole lunch was like, I'm going to exit your body as quickly as I can. So my daughter saw that, and I think she was 5 at the time, and it caused her to freak out. She went and locked herself in the room and would not come out. So anytime that anyone vomited around her, she had an extreme visceral reaction. She would cry, she would lock herself in a room, she wouldn't come out to eat, she wouldn't come out to go to the bathroom, nothing was happening. And it was a process of her having to deal with that trauma of, I didn't know what was happening with my mom. I thought something was going to happen, and I just wanted her to be okay. So vomit got attached to those feelings. So it's not about the thing, it's about the feelings attached to the thing.
Yeah.
So, how do you help people start unraveling those feelings?
So you got to meet them where they're at, right? And like I love how God meets us where we're at in
Hmm.
our broken mess, or if we have it all together. Like God just meets us where we're at, and so that's what I'm called to do, is to meet them where they're at, and that tells you a lot. Listening tells you a lot,
Hmm.
and being able to hold that sacred space holds a lot. And when you can just it will unravel itself, right? When you just
Hmm.
hold that space, and when you just meet them where they're at, and then you start to build on that, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch unravel.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds a whole lot like grace and like God's love that just meets us where we are and doesn't expect perfection.
Yes, so true. And I really try to mirror my life and my purpose and my mission how Jesus would, right?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I everything I do goes back, is part of my testimony, and goes back to glorify God. And
Hmm.
so I everything I do, I want to glorify God.
Yeah.
And that's like makes everything really simple, to come from a
Hmm.
place of heart, to come from a place of love and kindness, of mercy, of grace, of understanding that we're not always going to get it right, but as long as we keep going, God will continue to hold us.
Yes. Speaking of God holding us, as a mother, how did your experiences shape how you raised your children?
um phew. So this is an ongoing thing in my family, because all of us had very different experiences in the
Mm,
cult, mine being very different from my own siblings, and
mm,
we all parented differently. I Because I think mine was, you obviously want to do the opposite of what
right.
happened to you, and mine was so drastically different, but all of my siblings know about it and saw parts of it, so that like we have all different parenting styles in my family. I somehow just always parented from a place of nurture and a
Mm,
place of love and kindness. I couldn't strike my children because, well, there was just, I knew that, yeah, I just, that
mhm.
wasn't in me. Um,
Yeah.
you learn how to be a good nurturer when you've never been nurtured. You have to learn how
Mhm,
to be a good nurturer. But I've always had a servant's heart, because that's part of who God created me to be. And
mhm,
so that kind of came naturally, but you learn how to be a good nurturer. So it was a process, and it is a process, but now I get to um I yeah, it's been a process, but I hope that, yeah, the kids that I've had the opportunity of raising, I never got to have my own biological children, but I raised two children with my husband, my ex-husband now,
mm,
that weren't mine, one for 12 years and one for 6 years. And
mm.
they are still very active in my life and always will
Oh,
be. I'll
good.
always be their first mom, and I feel very blessed by that. And I was only able to get pregnant once, and I lost that baby to
Mm.
miscarriage. And so I have 12 nieces and nephews, though, so I still get to have that relationship with nurturing children, and getting to watch them grow and become who they're meant to be.
Mm. I think that's a testament to you doing a good job. They're still in your life. That means you did good,
Yeah.
and you probably gave them lots of bacon. So, you know.
Um, no, they weren't allowed bacon because they were Muslim. So it was a
Oh.
very we always laughed about that. My first husband was Muslim, and so they didn't eat pork. And so
Oh
I would
wow.
have to eat bacon outside of the house. So when I got divorced, I now eat bacon in my house. So
Another level of freedom.
another level of freedom.
Who knew that bacon was the key to freedom?
You know, sometimes you just have to understand. Somebody said in the comments, bacon solves everything. I'm like, you know what?
Yes.
There's been some nights that bacon has literally been dinner, and I have been okay with that. Like,
Yes.
it does solve a lot of things. So,
Yes. So I'm scrolling back through the comments so we can see if there's any questions in here. And if you have any questions for Martha, put them in the comments. Um, this is a conversation with you all just as much as it is with us. So definitely, if you have questions, drop them in here. Um, Andrea says, I just learned what we're going through with mom is trauma. Yeah, yeah. As caregivers,
oh
there
my
is
gosh.
there is a level of trauma that people don't realize. Um, because as much as you want to help and as
Yeah.
much as you want to see and this is even with being a coach, as much as you want to see people healed and as much as you want to speed up that process for them, they have to go through their process.
100%. Yeah. I tell my clients that all the time. I am not going to heal you. Your healing comes from in here and it comes from up there. I
Hmm.
will guide you. I will hold your hand. I will support you. I will counsel. I'll offer resources. I will do all of it, but I can't do the work. You have
Hmm.
to do the work. And yeah, but I'll stay true and to being your accountability partner, and I'll stay
Yeah.
true to holding your hand as much as you need, but I can't heal you. I can't fix you. Just like, as a caregiver, yeah, that's a very, very difficult role to be in because you can't heal that person. You can't fix
Hmm.
that person. All you can do is be present for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So give yourself grace in that caregiving
100%.
space as well. Yeah, because it's hard, and it tests our relationship and our trust in God just as much as it does for the person who is going through.
It does. Yeah, very true.
So, easy question now. What does it mean to you to be an overcomer?
Oh, I should have known this was coming because we asked this at the last meeting. Wow. You know, for me, it changes because I'm continuing to change. I'm continuing to grow and overcome. Overcoming is like a verb for me because it goes
Hmm.
on and on and on. It's almost like healing, right? Like, you're
Yes.
never healed. You are healing. No matter how much healing you've done, there's always more to do because, once again, life be lifing, which means we need more healing. So, um, being an overcomer is it's a verb, it's an action, it's an understanding that we get to show up every day, but we are going to get to show up every day, right? And
Hmm.
being an overcomer just means showing up every day as the best and highest version of myself, believing when God tells me who I am, believing that in every fiber of my being, and understanding that this mission is not a mistake and that I'm prepared for it. And being an overcomer is just showing up every day and understanding that that's enough, and God will do the rest.
I love that. Okay, so where can the people find you? Now, I know your book is on Amazon, and the QR code did not want to cooperate with us tonight, but in the show notes, it will absolutely be linked. So tell the people where they can find you, where they can get your book, and about what you have coming up in September.
Yes. So, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok under my name, Martha Glory Kartawi. TikTok is Let Glory Shine. So you can find me on any of the social medias, or you can also find my book on Amazon or where books are sold.
Yes.
Let Glory, Glory Going All In is the name of my book. And then the September, I am doing a healing trauma event called Unbound. And that is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And tickets are on sale now. So I'm sure we'll put a link in the show notes as
Yes.
well. I'm so proud of this event. God keeps telling me, like, I am handpicking the people that need to be there, and it's going to be special. I did one in August of last year, and God just did so much amazing
Mm.
healing. And it just reminds you that when you show up in your purpose, God will literally do the rest. He rolls out the red carpet. He says, it's go time. And so this is just another expression of it's go time. So I'm doing an event on September 12th through 14th. I've teamed up with 2 other ladies. We're going to have speakers. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have prayer. It's going to be amazing. So if you want more information, please send me a DM, a PM, a email, a pigeon. Just get in touch with me and I can give you all the details, or we'll also put the link in the show notes. So would love to see any of y'all there.
Yes. I am excited about that. Okay. So I am so happy. I'm so happy that you were able to join me today and be my first guest. We did it. We made
did
it through the episode and we didn't cry.
Almost. There was an almost a couple times.
Now, I don't know about the people in the comments, but I know we held it together. Andrea says she's going to send you a smoke signal.
Tell her acceptable. Bring it. Yes. And tell Jan, yes, unbound. We are no longer bound by our trauma. Come on. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's as you said that, I'm like, yeah, we are absolutely purpose twins because my book Unmasked is releasing as well so this year. So I'm like, yeah, we are purpose twins through and through.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so we are gonna get unmasked, unbound, and be free.
Amen. Congratulations on your first episode. I pray blessings over this podcast and that every person that hears it is blessed by every single week and your messages and the people that you get to interview. And I'm just so honored and privileged that I got to be number 1.
Yes.
Here's to many more. I'll be praying.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I know you got my email late. Did you get to write your letter? Nope. I did, y'all. It's my fault. So, our guests, future guests, will be closing the show with a letter to their younger selves.
That would have been so cool.
You can give a shortened version of notes to your younger self. I started to follow up with you this morning. I'm like, I don't know if she saw it in my email.
No, I didn't. So sorry.
No worries. No worries.
But, I have conversations with younger me all the time. Yeah, so that was some of the most powerful work that I did, was understanding that I do have a younger self and that I love her and she's awesome and she's going to be amazing. Because I didn't associate with her for so long. Like I could not like draw the connection that we were the same person. Because when I started healing, I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. Why would I want to go back to that painful place again? Right. So dear, like little Martha, you are stronger than you know. You are beautiful. You are courageous. You are resilient. And God's got a purpose for you. And it gonna take you a few decades, but when you step in, girlfriend, you are going to be unstoppable because God got your back. Let's go.
Yay. Yay. So I will put Andrea says she's trying to put young Andrea in the corner. Listen, Andrea fluctuates between sassy teenage energy and little girl energy. So
I love her. I love her. And Jan said, I can see Women's Unbound Unmasked Conference. Let's go.
Jan is always trying to put together a conference. Yes.
We're gonna manifest that.
It is out there in the atmosphere.
It is. Let's go, God.
All right. So thank you again so much for being here. Thank you all for joining me for the very first episode of the Hey There Overcomer podcast. We will be back next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern with another guest, another overcomer sharing their story and their joy. So I hope that you join me. And yeah, have a great night. I need to think of a closing. I need like a cute closing. Y'all give me some ideas in the comments. But I will see you next week. Have an amazing night. And yeah, talk soon. Oh, now my session doesn't want us to end.
It's because God got more to say. Jan
Right.
said we want more.
All right, bye, y'all. So, okay, there we go. Yay.